Hello, welcome to Cocos Creator Introduction Class 4. Today we're going to look at these red lines. We need to give them an type as well, just like we did with ID last time. So let's learn a little bit about types. Let's go to my types script, and I'm going to create a few persons here. Person 1, a name is Bob, age is 45, is student is false. And I'll create one more person here, person 2, name Anders, age 8, is student is true. Now some of you might have noticed that I had capital S here and a lowercase s here, and TypeScript, when a TypeScript file does not complain. So we need to fix this. So what we can do is we can create our own type for objects. So up here I can write type is the keyword when I want to create a new type. Type, and the type I want to create, just like we have string and number and boolean, I want to create a person type. Now I write person with a capital P. That's a convention that everybody uses. When we create types, the first letter is capital. When we create a variable, the first letter is lowercase. Type equals, and the curly brackets, and in here I want to tell TypeScript what should a person look like. So a person should have a name, and the name is a string. It should have an age, which should be a number, and is student, which should be a boolean. Now I can mouse over my person here and I can see it's a type and it has these 3 properties. So let's go down to my person 1, just like I did where I could write name colon string. Now with my person 1 I have a new type available, so I can write colon and then I can write person, just like string or number or boolean. So I give it a, and I can see up here, so I get an error already. It says does not recognize is student. Did you supposed to write I student? And that's simply because I forgot an S up here. So now my person 1 is of type person. You'll see if I mouse over person 2, it knows what is inside, but it doesn't know what type it is. So now I give my person 2, I also give that the person type. And now it complains down here that it says is student does not exist in person. Did you mean to write is student with a capital S here? I say, yeah, that's what I intended to do. So let's fix that. And now I have, I got the error fixed by TypeScript warning me that there was an error. Let's go back to our org attack TypeScript, and here's a challenge for you. I want you to create a treasure type. You should have gold and item, and I would like you to create it up here at the top of the file. I'll give you a few seconds. So what we'll do is, just like before, we'll write type, and I want it to be a treasure type. So let's write treasure, and it has gold, which is a number. We have a number of gold pieces, and it has an item. Item, which is a string. One thing I didn't mention before is after each line here, I can write comma, I can write semicolon, or I can write nothing. They will all work. Personally, I prefer comma because that fits how we write when we make an object. But if I mouse over here, you can see Visual Studio Code prefers the semicolon. The next challenge should be pretty easy. Use the new treasure types. I'll give you a few seconds for that. Pause and use it. Okay, so first place we think we might be able to use it is right here. But if we try to use it here, it will complain and say treasures is not a treasure type because treasures is an array. It's like a list of something. It is not just one treasure. So we cannot put that here. We'll talk about that later. But here, where I say add treasure, the treasure I grab here is a treasure type. And my create room is also a treasure type. Now I don't know if you noticed, but when I added this one here, so let me try to remove that. If you look over here on the right, I can see where I have problems. If I remove this, my arrows over here went away. So let's try to add that back in. You can see like that. I get some new arrows down here. So these were errors we had before, but we didn't know we had. The problem is that my treasure is supposed to have gold and item. But down here, when I add treasure, it has money and item. We didn't see this bug when we ran the code, but we would have had this bug if we had used some different numbers elsewhere. So the solution is just to, here, we're going to write gold. If this had just been in JavaScript, we would get a mysterious bug at some time. The game would just crash. But now we got the warning when we're writing the code instead. So let's save. The next challenge for you is to add an org type up here at the top. So I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Okay, I'll delete this. Type, it's an org. And let's look at the org here. It has a name. Okay, name is a string. Max health. So I'm just gonna be a little bit lazy here and copy from down here, so I don't have to write all of them. Max health is a number. Health is a number. Status is a string. Happy, let's call that is happy instead, and that's a boolean. We're not going to use it yet, we just made it. Save. Let's make sure that our code runs. So let's compile the code. Control-Shift-B, I will build. It should output in the out folder, and then I need to go to my PowerShell over here on the right. And I'll write node space of O and tab, because I want to go to the tab again. I want to go to the out folder, so let's do that again. When I write node, if I just click tab many times, I have to go through all the files like this. That's a little bit annoying. I know I want to go into the out folder. Out starts with an O, so I can type O and then tab. And then I can just tab through everything that starts with an O by tapping again and again. So now I'm in the out folder, and I know org attack also starts with an O. So let's type O again. There we go, and enter. And everything still works. That's all I wanted to see. We didn't use the org type yet, but we're going to need it now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a room type. But the room has an org inside it, so we need to learn about nested types. So I'm back at types.ts. in each of my persons, let's add an address. So up here in my person type, I'm going to write address, and that is going to be a curly bracket by itself. Obviously, this needs to be no equal signs here. An address in my example is going to have a street, which is going to be a string, and it's going to have a city, which is also just a string. And now my person 1 and my person 2 down here is going to complain. So let me show you on person 1. I need to have an address, and that needs to be street. Let's give it a street name called Flower Lane. And city, I'm gonna write Chiang Mai. So now my person 1 doesn't complain anymore. My person 2 still complains, says you're missing the address. So the challenge for you is to add the address to person 2. Okay, I hope you've done that. I will just copy it from up here and put it here, and I will change it a little bit so it's not just the same. So let's see. Flower Lane, no, it's gonna be Grass Alley, and it's gonna be Bangkok. Now this works, but now what if I had another part of my code that was interested in the address? TypeScript doesn't really know what's inside here. So what we can do instead, not instead, what we can do also, here I have my type person. I'm gonna make a new type here. Gonna make a type address. I would like you to fill in what should be in my type address. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, so what I need here is a street, which is a string, and street, which is a string, and a city, that's a string. So now I create a new type address. Now I want to use that in my person. So I can go up here and say address is not just a definition of street and city. Address is now going to be our type address. Now here, if I go down to person 1 and I mouse over my address, it's going to say the address is of type address. I still need to put in the same information down here, but now I could write some code elsewhere that would say person1.address, and it would know that it's this type, and it would have to have these properties. Now we are ready to go back to org attack and make a room type that has an org inside it, just like we can see down here. So we're going to do that next week. We also added GitHub to our source tree, so we can upload our code to a server somewhere. I will not include this in this video. So I'll see you next week.